Hello, it's Emma Holmes, coming to you from Rockstar HQ, and it is another week where we have had a whole furore around Facebook's newsroom announcement. So, if you haven't heard about it, this week again, Facebook have made an announcement about changes to the algorithm. So, what is the Facebook algorithm? Well, the Facebook algorithm is like a magic spell out of Hogwarts. It's like a magic spell that actually it is not really something that you can ever understand fully, but it is the system that they put every single Facebook post through in order to decide who is going to see what. Now, there was an awful lot of scaremongering again. So every time Facebook make an announcement, it seems that everybody kind of jumps on this bandwagon and goes, let's see if we can scare the bejesus out of everybody. Let's talk about the fact that Facebook for Business is dead, organic reach is dead, Well, actually, do you know what? Facebook reach has declined. That's a fact. As not so very long ago, you could pop a Facebook post out there into the world and the majority of your fans would see it. Now that is not the case. The averages for reach tend to be around 1 to 2% of your fans are seeing posts. This is the reported averages. But this doesn't mean that Facebook reach is dead, and I continue to get really good engagement on Facebook. I continue to see improvements in my Facebook marketing because I am consciously marketing all of the time. I'm consciously talking to my crowd. I've created a community feel on Facebook. And what Facebook have been saying recently is that they do want to continue to enhance user experience, which has always been a buzzword that's come out of Facebook, and that they want to make sure that you are seeing posts that are timely and relevant to you, that you are seeing posts from your friends and family, that you aren't getting bogged down in a really boring news feed. So I spent a little bit of time this week on a Facebook Live with the very lovely Becky Coop from Infinity Marketing, who I work really closely with on my personal Facebook strategy, and she is an absolute expert in how you can continue to grow your Facebook page. And we spent some time on Facebook Live, and I'm going to attach that video to this so that you can listen in and see what we talked about, see the types of things that came out of it. And we did speak about thinking about the stuff that you are posting now on Facebook. Think about, is it relevant? What's the point? Is it timely? When should you schedule it? Can you ask a question to get your crowd involved in what it is that you're talking about? Have you thought about your crowd when you've come to craft a particular post? Have you thought about whether that is a post with an image, whether that is a video, whether that is a text post, whether that post needs to have a link with it? Do you give your crowd the opportunity to talk back to you? Are you inviting them to be involved in a conversation? Where does it fit in your overall marketing strategy? Is there anything more that you can create from that one idea? And how can you put your marketing together so that you don't have kind of stacks of the same type of thing going out at the same time? So those are the criteria that we talk about during this video. But jump on in and see. We're going to talk about what's actually happened to the algorithm. We're going to talk about what you can do about it, most importantly. We're going to talk about what you need to be thinking about within your marketing strategy. We're going to be talking about whether or not you want to bring together a Facebook group rather than keep all the attention on your page, and so much more. So dive on into the video, enjoy, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye. Hello. It is Emma Holmes coming live from Rockstar HQ, and the very gorgeous Becky Coop joining us today. Hi, Becky. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds for it to go live, and I'm going to share this into a couple of my groups because I know that lots of people are really interested in what we're going to be talking about today. So just have a second. I'm just going to go and share it away. I know that doesn't make very good viewing for anybody, but hey ho. Let's just
pop on and join us.
Totally. So I'm going to put that in there. Right. Come on in, say hi. If you're joining us live, it'd be lovely to see who is around. This is a lunchtime live, a very special lunchtime live, because we woke up this morning to a whole shitstorm again. Yeah. Didn't we? Didn't we? Yeah. I looking through my newsfeed, I just thought, here we go again.
Yeah. Facebook is busy, obviously.
But I think Facebook are a bit mean as well, because they seem to always put it out late on American time when we're all in bed. So we wake up to it and then just, Christ, here we go. Hello, Emma. Hello, Maxine. Hi, Stuart. Hi, Rachel. Come on in. Let us know if you are joining us. Alison, first live I've been able to attend for ages. Well, welcome, my darling. Welcome to Lunchtime Live, where we are talking about Facebook's newsroom announcement that was overnight for us UK. Do you want to just give us a little bit of an update of what Facebook announced and what they said, and we'll go on and talk about it from there?
Yeah. So this is kind of one in a series of updates that Facebook has made recently and announcements that they've made. So it's following on from 3 updates that happened just before Christmas. So it's not completely out of the blue, although I know it's taken lots of people by surprise if you kind of weren't expecting it. But basically what they've said is that they want to prioritise important posts from your friends and family in the newsfeed, and that's nothing new whatsoever. So looking back at all the updates there's been over the past few years to how the newsfeed works and the algorithm that controls what you see, what you don't see. 2015 they made an update where they said they were prioritising friends and family. 2016 they did another one. So it's basically just an ongoing challenge for Facebook to make sure that you're seeing content from pages and groups that you're interested in, but you're not missing anything important from friends and family, because they're constantly up against complaints that, but I don't see, stuff from my friends and family, I'm missing things, and that's what they've got to balance. So basically this update is all about redressing that balance and making sure that you're not missing the content that you want to see. That's what it boils down to. And the other aspect of it is that their big priority at Facebook now is around community and building communities and creating what they're calling meaningful connections between people. It's what Facebook's always really been about, connecting people with people, even if it's the people behind a business or the people kind of are coming together around a business. It's all been about community, and it's just making that more important than ever. So it's a logical next step for them, and that's what it boils down to, really.
And the phrase that I've always heard come from Facebook is user experience. And I've been to Facebook Ireland. I've been to all of their kind of informations and looked at their work, and they've always talked about user experience and it being a good experience for people who are using Facebook. So I told you just before we came on live that this morning I was in my car and I was visiting one of my gorgeous clients. Can you see? I've got a new broom. Look at my broom.
Oh,
I've got a broomstick.
wow.
So I was with Andrea Lancaster this morning, and I was listening to the news in the car, and the news came on and said, Facebook want you to spend less time on Facebook. They have updated their information to make sure that you can see what you want very quickly and get off the platform, basically was what the news said. That isn't what they're saying, is it? And that isn't what they want. They don't want you. The whole point of this update is because they feel that they are becoming really clogged up, and people are therefore venturing elsewhere from a social media perspective. Yeah. Not that they want you less here, it's what they want you more here. Because they want to show you everything that you want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't want you to feel like you have to go somewhere else to get that missing piece of the puzzle. So everything you're looking for when you go online, they want you to be able to find the full bag on Facebook so that you spend all of your time on Facebook, which makes perfect sense. And the media seems to have picked up on a tiny comment that was made within the announcement that was saying, we do expect that as a result of this, at least to start with, people might spend a little less time on Facebook. That's not to say that'll be the long-term effect, but they're just kind of preempting how this might impact. They're not saying that we don't want people to spend time here, because why would they say that? That makes no sense.
Exactly. And the other thing that's really interesting is that I was listening to one of the big social media pages live that they did when this announcement hit, and they kept picking up on the fact that Facebook used the word people, and they picked up on the fact that they thought that meant not pages. Well, actually, do you know what? Behind every page should be a person. We are all humans working within these businesses. And I thought that was a really short-sighted thing to pick up on. And that was a real scaremongering kind of tactic, that they were saying that actually, if you're not just a profile, that pages and profiles, people meant profiles in their head. Whereas actually pages can be people too. My page is me. Your page is you. And I thought that was a really kind of bad way of scaremongering people into this thought process. So what does it actually really mean? We've heard a lot of the Facebook zero words this morning. What does it mean for us all? And is it anything brand spanking new?
Right. So let's clear up the Facebook zero thing, because I imagine that although that's all over Facebook today, that's probably pretty meaningful for most people. Oh, opposite. Meaningful. For most people, you probably think, what the hell is Facebook zero? Basically, what some people are saying is that we're working our way towards the point where businesses will have zero reach on Facebook organically, and that your only option to get a message out there to people is going to be to advertise. And they're saying that this update equates to that happening, which I don't believe that it will. Obviously, we're going to see how it pans out, but I don't think that we're going to get to the point where no business can ever reach anybody without paying for it. What Facebook are wanting to do is connect you with the content that you really want to see, and the content that engages you and that brings people together. So one of the examples they were using was with kind of news articles, and how they don't just want people to come on, find out what the latest news is and go. They want people to then be having discussions around it and conversations and talking to their friends about it. And it's all about those connections. That's why they keep using this term, meaningful connections, which is just bringing people together. So what it's going to come down to is about community. And I think we're going to see lots of different communities popping up on Facebook, more emphasis on real engagement. I think comments are going to be a big thing. So the more that you can get people commenting in a really meaningful way around stuff and having actual discussions, then the better your reach will be. That's kind of how I see it, where the focus is and how I think it's going to pan out. It's all about community.
And again, this comes up. Again, we talk community, and suddenly everybody goes, shit, I need a free Facebook group. Truth or lie?
It's one to weigh up for your business. It's not one to make a knee-jerk reaction with. And I was talking about this morning on my page around Facebook groups, and you really need to think it through, because if you go off to set up a Facebook group this afternoon because you've heard how important community is, and then the logical next step is Facebook groups, and Facebook mentioned in the announcement that groups are going to kind of be up there with friends and family almost. If you rush off and just create one with absolutely no plan, no idea of what it's going to bring to your business, how are you going to manage it, because Facebook groups take a lot of time and energy to manage, then it can actually have a negative impact on your business. That time and energy has got to come from somewhere. So you could find yourself not being able to focus on other things. And it might not add any value. Well, it won't if you don't know why it's there and what its purpose is. And what's the point, basically? So it's about thinking it through and no knee-jerk reactions, having a strategy behind it. So Facebook groups could be a good move, or they perhaps not for your business. It's thinking that decision through on an individual basis.
And for me, this has always been the position in Facebook groups. What is the business strategy behind that group? What is the business strategy behind that group? What are the pros and cons? Is it, and I've seen this happen an awful lot where people have set up a free group and they've got loads and loads of people in there, and the impact has been on their public presence, because then they don't have time for that public presence. So that group stagnates, and there's no new people coming to that group who really want to be part of that group, because that public presence then becomes really tired and slow and hard. There is no reason why your community cannot sit in your public presence on your Facebook page, is there?
No, and that's what we work closely on, isn't it? On the Rebels and Rockstars page, is that the community is on the Facebook page, not in a private closed off group somewhere. It's there in the page, and people are interacting and getting to know each other as well as getting to know you. And so it's absolutely possible to build that community on a page as much as it is on a group. And hopefully that's what we'll see on Facebook pages now, where it's going to become less about businesses or publishers just broadcasting, hi, here, this is what I've got to share, and more about drawing people in. And pages hopefully are going to become more of a place for community, which is a positive. So it doesn't always have to be hidden away in a group.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the big thing that really hit me as I was brewing over it as I drove this morning. Really good thinking time when I drive, was the fact that I tell you what is over. Broadcasting is over. Talking at people is over as far as Facebook is concerned. And just going, buy my shit, or here's this, or look at this, or click on this, or whatever it might be, that's over. The ickier tactics of forced engagement and forced virality are over.
Yeah.
So looking at, these things that have been pushed into being viral because everybody shares the same thing over and over and over again, the things that are, click if you like and comment, da-di-da, that, that's kind of gone. And I think that the big thing is that for me, as I've digested this morning, it's been that actually social media is a free tool in this term.
Yeah.
But it's not free in terms of you committing to doing it. And I think that the big thing is that you've got to be willing to commit time, effort, energy, and attention now. And you can't passively grow a platform anymore. So I think that it is about looking really strategically at what you do. And, what have you taken away from it as you've kind of mused over it this morning?
I think it's we're seeing the next era of social media coming into play. So we've basically had 10 years of this brand new thing, and people almost floundering around trying to find a way to make it work for business. Social media wasn't a business tool that was invented for marketers. It was connecting people. And then out of that came businesses looking at it and going, right, how could we use that then to connect with people who might be potential customers? So it's grown in quite an organic way, and there's been a lot of trial and error. And I've been involved in that this past decade. That's exactly how I started, with kind of being asked by my boss, what could we do with Twitter? Is that a thing that we could do? And I think now we're at the stage where it's kind of, this is what social media is about. It's getting it back to its social aspect. I think you've got Facebook and you've got the other platforms as well, Instagram, Twitter, looking at what's going on and how the platforms have almost, I don't want to use the word abused, but being used in a way that they're not intended to. So kind of your old school marketing techniques have been applied onto something that it was never meant for. Social media is about being social. And so I think what Facebook are doing, they're going, look, we need to take it back to that. This is a social media platform. That's why it was set up. Let's put the social back into social media. And businesses have got to find a way to use it on its own terms rather than trying to apply old school techniques that kind of don't mesh together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I think that the thing is that we've got to, you know, if you're not willing to put your creativity now into social media, if you're not willing to create connections with your audience, if you're not willing to be useful, helpful, kind, supportive, then your social media page is going to suffer as a result.
Yeah.
I think that's the top and bottom of it. Because when we talk about social, that doesn't mean business. It means that it's going to bring those.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, come on into the comments.
Yeah, you sound underwater to me, but I don't know whether that's just between us or how is it for everyone else?
So let's have a look. Oh, it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
So let's have a look what people have been saying. Carol says, yeah, this doesn't sound terribly helpful for business. I think it actually is, because I've said to Becky recently, you know, I've been looking through my news feed quite a lot this year, and it's been bloody tedious, to be honest. I've done the flick, and I don't do it often, but I've done the flick, and I've just been like, actually, nothing is jumping out and lighting me up, and there's so much shit. There is so much shit on there that actually I want Facebook to start to weed out the crap. And yeah, that's going to make my life harder and my job harder. And it's going to mean that I have to be more creative and I've got to look at things in a different way again. But Becky knows that I love a negative challenge. And, you know, the minute that the numbers go red, that's, you know, me bit in between my teeth and I'm ready to go. So I think it's actually a good thing, Carol, when we actually sit and look at it. And as long as you're ready to stand in and do the work that goes with it, because we've been bloody lucky for a long time. You know, we're in an age where we've had this ability to connect with people all around the world for free. Can you imagine just going back 40 years, how much budget would have had to go into connecting with that many people? Phenomenal. So I think that actually it is about us looking at it just differently. Stuart says, could be updating my Facebook app as we speak, so very relevant. Doesn't sound like we need to focus. It does sound like we need to focus on building our own community, so that will be good. Absolutely. That is exactly what's coming out of it.
And maybe there's such power in the community as well. So it's not just that you're now having to jump through a different hoop to please the Facebook gods so that people see stuff. It's not that you've got to build a community for the sake of it. It's that there's actually real value in doing that. So it's not just about getting your reach up and those things. It's, you know, that will bring so much benefit to your business. And if you've not been focusing on building community, you'll be amazed at the impact it'll have. The relationships that you build up with people and the customers that you draw in, and just, yeah, what a change it is when you shift your focus to community. So it's not just about kind of ticking the right box. It is a worthwhile thing to do, regardless of algorithm changes and all the rest of it.
Carolee said maybe go and see your friends and family more.
Well, that's one option.
But I suppose we're all connected all around the world. I've got a lot of family in Australia, across the world. So they make a mint because they're asking for money to advertise. Well, they are a business at the end. You know, Facebook are a business. Budget into Facebook. It is very specific. Allows us to.
Yeah, so I think it'll be a case of if you're broadcasting something or selling something, then that's probably where you're going to have to spend the money to get that out there. And I think that kind of, again, it fits in with the social versus the business, and making them work together.
Yeah. Let's have a look. I guess I keep getting suggested posts across Facebook and Facebook. I might like can get a bit of time. Facebook are taking up my team.
We've gone a bit funny again, Emma.
I think we've both gone funny this time.
Oh.
Are we back? Oh, sounds like we're back.
Very strange.
So, yeah, I think, all of those suggested posts, and Facebook thinks you might like posts, they do get a little bit annoying. And I think that to some element, this is Facebook trying to work out whether they've got it right, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think they're struggling with the sheer amount of content on there. So I think if they get the newsfeed sorted out, then we'll see an improvement on the adverts that we see as well. It's going to have a knock-on effect.
Yeah. It goes back to everything that we learn with them, a consistency, community, and showing up. It does really. It really does. It really does. Liz says, I think that we're in a good place as soulful businesses. I think we are, because I think that, we've always got that core of service, and it's always been important to us to be there for people and connect with people. I think the businesses that are going to struggle the most on this are those that have built a really big page in the past when it was easier to, have been in a position really to broadcast just on sheer percentages and numbers in the past. I think that that's going to be the people that really feel it if they're not ready to move into serving in a different way. Is that not how we should be doing it anyway, building community? Yeah, exactly. Groups are hard work, said Deb. I've been admin for a few, and never again people are odd. Yeah, and I think people often don't value free as well. And then they think that they've got you and they don't need to then buy anything from you because you're on hand for them. So, it is a business strategic decision if you are going to create a group. It's not just a hell yeah, let's all create groups. That's not what Facebook is saying. It's actually, they'll be in the same problem.
Yeah.
They're going to get exactly the same issue, because then everybody's going to be part of all of these tons of groups. And then they're going to go, what am I going to do with the feed? So it's going to happen again, if that is the case.
Yeah. And it's a big commitment to open a group, which is why it's, you've got to think it through on that strategic level. Otherwise, you can find yourself stuck with a beast and wondering why the hell you opened it.
Yeah. Deb says, what do we think about not-for-profit pages? Community means reach, but without reach, how do you build community? That, that's the thing, is that it's going to, social media across the board has always been the long game, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, initially it wasn't, because you could just go woo and then everything would happen and it would be amazing. But certainly over recent years, it's always been about the long game. And I think that this was another thought thread that I had as I drove home was, how do you even then start to build a community if you're starting off brand new now? And it's about that one person and connecting with that one person. And like we said before, once you connect with one person, Facebook will then potentially suggest that to their friends and their wider circle. And then it's about referring people back to you, and it's going to be the long game now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be about creating individual connections. I don't look at coming on here and talking to the whole wide world. I look at coming on here and creating the connections with the people that are there at that time, that are joining me on whatever I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I think when you're thinking about your page and the engagement you're getting, it's important to keep in mind that it's all relative. So if you've got a small page and you're comparing your engagement to a massive page and worrying that you're never going to get to that point because they've got this much, so how are you going to compete with them in the newsfeed? Remember that the algorithm treats it relative. So it will look at kind of a ratio of, right, this many like the page and this many people are engaging. So it's avoiding that comparison with other pages and just knowing that you can just gradually build it up as well. And it's taking those small steps forward, building up person by person, basically. And using other platforms as well. So I think this is going to become really important, even more so, of spreading your eggs around and tapping into other places as well, using other social media platforms, using your email list, bringing people together around your website, and not thinking of your community as just on Facebook, using other things at your disposal as well.
Not all the eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
I'm quite excited about the change, because looking at who I follow and keep going back to business-wise, there's always the one who have personalities that I have a connection with, that aren't salesy, businessy type pages, but the ones with real humans behind them. Yeah, and I think that that's, you know, going to be increasingly, people increasingly are looking at things differently. So yes. There we go. Throw Emma some water wings like that. The changes promised today at Facebook aren't entirely new. In fact, a year in the delivery. Yeah, Facebook have continued to shift this for a long period of time. And I felt, when I listened and I read first thing this morning, was that it was kind of bringing together all of them little changes that they've done recently and said, here it is.
Yeah. And if you, what I did as well was I looked back on the announcements, because I remembered that we had one in 2015, 2016. I knew it was around those times when they were talking a lot about friends and family getting priority. And I looked back at the actual statements that they put out, and so much of the wording was very similar to what they put out last night. So there's a lot of crossover, and it's just a continuation of what they've been doing, an evolution of Facebook, and just them continuing to tackle the big problems that they face, so that they stay relevant and they keep being used. Because if you think about it, they've been around over 10 years now, so they're doing pretty well in the world of social media to stay as relevant as they are, but that's always going to be a challenge for them.
And I think that that's the thing, is that they've got to evolve in the same way as we all evolve. And I know that loads of people, you know, change isn't always the most welcomed thing, but you know, they change and evolve. That allows us to change and evolve, and not, you know, it's not negative. It's about you looking at things through the eyes of the end user, really, and looking at how you can, you know, really, really help people and support people and move things forwards. That's why I'm struggling a bit. Only got started in May. I'm not overly worried, a little frustrated, as I know it'll take a long time to get it right. Yeah, it is creating one connection at a time, one person, and, you know, really talking to them and answering people. Proper bugbear of mine is, you know, people who get loads and loads of comments and they just leave their crowd sat there hanging. That's really unkind, and that's really unhelpful, and it's really unuseful. So I think that, you know, being able to go back and talk to each individual as an individual, so that you are creating that ability to continue to chat and continue to talk and continue to make that connection.
Yeah. And again, that's so valuable as well. I've talked before, I think last time we were live, talking about Facebook algorithms and all this stuff, about the fact that when people start working with me one-to-one, often I've had so many conversations with them on social media, and they've seen, you know, the more personal stuff that I've shared, that when we talk for that first time, actual kind of in a customer business setting, as it were, it's like we've known each other for years, and that relationship is already there. So that adds so much value to my business, because we can hit the ground running, and I can help and support people much better than if it was kind of complete strangers coming to me. So I think that's a real value in social media as well, that when you forget about the social aspect, you kind of miss out on that value of building individual relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Emma says, I'd love to have some comments to answer. The odd time that I do, I always make the effort to respond. So you need to, you know, if you're not getting the comments right now, you need to start to think about things slightly differently, don't you? You need to think about how you can open the door in a different way, because right now, if people aren't getting engaged and aren't commenting on things, one, they might be frightened to. So can you get somebody to start that off? Can you start the conversation rolling? Secondly, it might be that you're asking things that they don't want to get involved with on a public platform, or that the answer would be too long and involved, or that, you know, so there's loads and loads of ways of doing it, and they don't always have to be business related. you know, the questions that I ask on my page vary from things that are really business related and help me to look at profiling my crowd and my audience and things like that, to really flippant, social, I was thinking about this, what do you think, or this or that, so that it's really easy for people to start to get involved. So it's the fact that you can, and when I started asking questions, the majority of them were the more flippant ones. And then people got to trust that they can get involved on my platform. And now I can ask more kind of varied questions. So last night I talked about tech fear, and lots of people got involved in the techie bits that do their head in.
Yeah.
But on the same time, you know, there'll be lots of questions that I ask that are things like, you know, one that I did this week, Apple or Android.
I think people often dive in with those big questions that they really want to know the answer for, and it comes from a good place. But it's kind of like if you started talking to somebody in the pub and you just met them and you asked them what their wildest dreams were, or something that they're struggling with and it's keeping them up at night, or, you know, those big meaty questions, and you've just met, they're going to be like, hang on a minute, I've just got to go. And they're not going to get involved. But you build a rapport with people, don't you? And that starts small with, you know, icebreakers, conversation starters, and as people get to know you, you get to know them. You can delve into the deeper stuff, but I often see people diving straight to the deep end and then struggling with why people are not commenting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and you know, I think that if you're sat here watching this right now and you're going, do I even have a community? Where do I even start with this? What would your top tips be to start kind of looking at that being a thing?
Yes, I think firstly you need to get really clear yourself on who it is that you're speaking to and what's bringing those people together to your page or to your group or both. What kind of common threads are there? And then kind of use that as a starting point for your content. Use a good mix of content. So the things like the questions and the icebreakers that we've just talked about can fit really well into that mix to get some conversation started and to kind of draw people out of the woodwork a little bit. But then having lots of different types of content for them to interact with, giving them different types of opportunities to get involved. So it's all about being creative and kind of with each piece of content asking yourself where does it sit within that mix? How can I engage people with this, draw people in, and building it up over time as well.
And like it's a little line that I've used for years now. Less is more if more is shit. So even if you have to bring it back a little bit, and that's not us saying that Facebook have said only post so many times a day, because again, that's bollocks, right? But if you have to bring it back a little bit and really create great content, then do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, run everything through the filters that you've got. And it might be, that you create well, it is a thought. We'll do one. Create a little checklist of things that you need to think about with every post.
Yeah.
Becky and I will work collaboratively and do one of those as a free resource that we can provide you with in the next couple of days. Mm-hmm. Sarah says, sorry, I've just... I'm going to do list. We'll talk about it straight after this, and I'll write it down and then I'll get it designed. Sarah says, I always reply to comments and likes. Can you clarify, if somebody likes your page, they will see your posts? No, they won't. If people like your page, that does not mean that they are going to see any of your posts. And that has been the same for a long time now.
Yeah, that's something new.
People can set to see first. People can set to get notifications.
Yeah.
They're two things that people can do, but you can you'd have to train your crowd to do those things. You'd have to show them how that happens. And we know, because you've done it on my page, see first, that you don't always see everything.
No. So I have you set to see first, but I see maybe one or two a day. And I know that you post more than that, so I still don't see everything. But it is a handy tool, especially from a user perspective as well. I use it on pages that I absolutely do not want to miss what they're putting out there. The one thing to be careful of, because I think we might see this in the next few days as well, is that we might see lots of people jumping in because they mentioned in Facebook in the announcement that the see first function will still work. Yeah. So I imagine we're going to see quite a lot of pages jumping in saying, well, it's all right because set my page to see first, and kind of pestering or hounding people who like their page to turn on notifications, see it first. We saw it when Instagram introduced their algorithm, and that's probably going to backfire a little bit, I think. But there's other ways that you can do it to kind of let them know that that's there without, doing that kind of pushy approach.
Yeah, and I think that, if you look at your Facebook page posts, they are the ones that are going to suffer. They are the ones that are going to go through this tighter algorithm. Your sponsored posts will remain the same. They will remain effective. You'll be able to put, and this will be another thing, is that, when, like you said earlier, when you are looking to do something specific that might be driving traffic off platform, that might be the stuff that you want to put a little bit of budget to. But that's your call.
But equally, again, not having a knee-jerk reaction to that. So I imagine some people might now jump over to Facebook ads and stick money on every post that they've got out there, and then find that it's just costing them a fortune and not necessarily getting any results either. So again, it's about being strategic with that and thinking through what budget have you got, if any, and where can you make best possible use of that? Because I don't imagine anybody's got an endless pot of money to funnel into Facebook ads.
And Facebook ads were always the case, and are more or less still the case, that you will only see one ad from each person per day on your feed. So again, if you go and stick a load of money on everything, then actually that's going to be counterproductive because people aren't actually going to see it.
Yeah.
And then you're competing against yourself and driving the cost up.
Yeah.
So that, it's one of those that you've got to be careful of.
Yeah.
Sometimes only 5 see posts from 500, but I'm in the know why. I have my rebels on first, miss some, but get most. So, when you look at your current, what's the current average on reach that we're seeing right now, Becky?
So the kind of industry figure is about 1% to 2% of the people who like your page will see a specific post that you put out there. We're seeing more, anything from 7% to about 40%, I'd say, across the pages that I, look at the stats and things. In some cases, it can be 100%, 200% on a post, on the kind of exceptional ones that perform really well. But I'd say you can probably expect, if you've got a good strategy, maybe 10% would be a good result. But if you bear in mind that most people are getting 1% to 2%, that puts it into perspective.
Yeah. Sarah says, I'm confused. I understand reach. So what's different now? The algorithm. And it's kind of the fact that they have collectively brought together the newest updates. And in a nutshell, what they're saying is that if you post stuff that people aren't getting involved with, that is going to affect your reach.
Yeah.
So if you're broadcasting to people, that is going to affect your reach. If you haven't got, that level, they're going to start to look at your community and how you're bringing people around you. I only boost if I have the time and energy to deliver. Even with our pages first, we don't always see them. Yeah, absolutely. It's like swings and roundabouts with them ads, I feel. No, ads are effective if you use them properly. I think that Facebook advertising is very effective if you're using it in the right way. Anna says it's a tough one. I think we need to do what is true for us and what suits our followers. Totally. There is no one size fits all. Just because Joe Blogs is doing it their way doesn't mean that you have to do it as well. And don't get hung up on that. Yeah, absolutely. And the big thing is that so many people just come out after these announcements and shit drop a load of panic on everyone and pull out what will sensationalize the story and therefore get them reach. You know, let's not make any bones about it. You know, they're sensationalizing it to create a frenzy, to create a panic. They are actually doing probably quite good marketing for themselves, because then people are coming to them going, oh, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? And we're going, it'll be okay. It'll be okay as long as you're looking at it in the right way. And if you need support to look at it in the right way, yeah. But if you feel like you're starting to bring together your own community and you're getting involved with people and you're interacting with people, then you might not see any drop off. Throughout January, I've seen an increase in my stats. Will that change today? Who knows? But me feeding it with fear and angst and, negative energy won't make a blind bit of difference, and I'll probably make it worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's green, I'm happy, said Judy. I know I sent you a screenshot, didn't I, on Christmas Eve, saying, look what Santa gave me for Christmas. A full level of green stats. Will it mean pages using comment ladders and share events will get bigger reach? Depends how clever they are. Because if you use now anything that tries to force engagement, that's going to get negative reach, isn't it?
Yeah. So we had an update before Christmas, which ties back into this as well, of what Facebook call engagement bait. So that's people saying, like this to vote for someone, whatever the poll is, or tag a mate who, or comment with, and it's those words. So specifically asking people to take an action. They've already cracked down on that and are doing so even more. So I don't think that comment ladders and like ladders and all of that stuff is going to benefit whatsoever. In fact, we should hopefully be seeing less and less of that kind of activity. And again, if it's got no purpose, yeah, you wouldn't want to do it. Exactly. I think the whole thing is that think about what your crowd want and need and how, they want to be helped and supported. And, I've posted about this in the past, and likes ladders, what ends up happening in those, and they're nowhere near as prevalent as they used to be. But people go in and put their own stuff on and don't even look at any of the other comments. So don't waste your time on them. You get people that just aren't interested, those that are just seeking that kind of reciprocal arrangement with you. And that's an interesting point, these kind of reciprocal things. Facebook have also looked at that, haven't they? Yeah, so it's all about bringing through more of the genuine engagement. They've picked up on all of these tactics that people have been using to try and kind of game the system, trick the algorithm, and they're not daft. They've got such sophisticated technology. They know what's happening. They're combating it, and it's going to be all about bringing through genuine, meaningful engagement. So I think hopefully we'll see less and less of that kind of forced engagement going on. Are Facebook against us? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it just comes down to what they're very clear on what their mission is and the vision behind the business. And bringing it back to that. Yeah, and they don't want us all to leave. No. They don't want business to leave Facebook because business pays the bills on Facebook. Yeah. And why would they then have it as a platform that is only paid for? Because then they might only then get the big players in. And they lose an awful lot of revenue. Yeah. And they know that people want more than just posts from friends and family. If you look at Twitter, although it's not kept up with other platforms quite as much, but what Facebook has always been competing with Twitter on is the fact that news tends to break first on Twitter. People go to Twitter not to connect with friends and family, but to see what's going on in the world and to see what's trending and to connect around those topics, because it's not just a case of articles being shared, that's where the conversation's happening. I think Facebook want to bring more of that through as well. So it's not about eliminating any content that's not from your friends and family. It's about getting us engaged around everything and showing us the things that are important to us.
Yeah. So, to close off and to let everybody crack on, what would be your parting comment if you could just say one thing to people? What would it be?
I think if you want one word to focus on for your social media strategy this year, it will be community. So whether you need to have it kind of stuck up on your office wall or a reminder somewhere prominent, community is the thing to bring everything back to, and the filter to put everything through, and the thing to focus on, definitely for the foreseeable.
Yeah. If you go away and you start to ruminate over this now and you have any questions, bring it back into the comments and we will come back and answer anything that you've got. So I hope that everybody has an absolutely lovely rest of their Friday, and we will speak to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.